They say that differences attract, but those same differences can turn deadly. Dolores Jones is my name. I'm your comeback coach. I want to show you how to bounce back better than ever before. I want to thank you for watching me, for tuning in to my Facebook channel as well as my YouTube channel, Dolores Jones TV. For those of you that are new to the crew, I appreciate you. Hello. Come on in and welcome. Make sure that you share the video. Can you like and share the video? All right. So yesterday, I did a video and it's called Dangerously in Love. And it basically is a true story of a young woman named Briana Johnson who was involved with a guy named Victor Campbell Jr. Now, the story comes out of Houston, Texas. And so by this time, it's all over the world, I'm sure. But when I began to talk about that is I noticed that she looked different. Like, they didn't even look like they belonged together. And we're often told, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, you need to start thinking about the cover as well as the conversation. Unfortunately, this beautiful 28-year-old YouTuber who would go on, who would go on and do videos about her life, about makeup, just beautiful queen, just young and ambitious, college educated, very intelligent. She had so much going on for herself, but she got involved with a guy named Victor Campbell Jr. Now, Victor had been in and out of prison or jail for violent crimes. He was tatted up, y'all. Y'all know, ladies, I know sometimes we like good looking men who are tatted up, but I need you to read the tattoos because you just never know. Okay. Long story short, on November 28th, Victor strangled and stuffed Brianna's body in the trunk of his car and drove off. He happened to be speeding, and so the highway patrol pulled him over, but he led them on a high-speed chase. And then eventually he wrecked. When they pulled him over and they searched his car, his trunk, that's when they found, or where they found, Briana Johnson. She was a vlogger, so she would, do videos, and a couple of those videos included this guy. One in particular, they were shopping at Sam's, and you saw his shoulders and you saw his tattoos. And then you heard her behind him saying, "Yes, that right there, baby, get that one." So he put it in the basket. So then she said, "Okay, baby, that one too." Put it in the basket. So the video goes on where they're outside now, and he has one of those big, slab things with stuff on from Sam's. And she goes, "Baby, the key, you got the key." So it was apparent they were in this relationship. There were also pictures of them out of town during her birthday, enjoying a beautiful dinner. But her friends really didn't know much about this guy. In fact, they were like, "What's that about?" Well, now they won't know because Briana is deceased. She's dead. And I know sometimes, ladies, we say, I want somebody different like me. I want a roughneck. I want a thug. I want him to, pull me by my hair and tell me that he cares. That whole bad boy attraction. But being with bad boys may be a very, very bad idea. And you could get the bad end of the deal, as in the case with Briana. Now, I got to thinking, and y'all may feel the same way. I thought, it's kind of like vinegar and water don't mix. Have you ever been out or you saw a couple and you thought, "Oh my God, how did she get with him?" Because there's a certain way you carry yourself. There's a certain aura that you have, a certain persona that you have. And at this stage, we got to pay attention to that. Stop watching all these movies where, the good guy the bad guy turns into a good guy. That don't work all the time, honey. That don't work all the time. Well, he's down on his luck. Well, that's his luck. I'm not your luck. This is talking about your life. What I'm talking about It's a story out of Houston, Texas, involving a 28-year-old YouTuber, Briana Johnson. Beautiful, talented, educated, making money for herself, lived on her own. She lived in a very nice community there in Houston, but she got involved with a guy named Victor Campbell Jr. Victor Campbell Jr. has a history of being violent towards family and people. I don't know how much of that she knew. Maybe she just thought he was good looking. He was good looking. He was all tatted up. But like I said in my other video, I said, you need to read some of those tattoos. I mean, if a person has guns all on his arms and, bullets and crazy sayings on his body, that tells you where that person's head is. Most people that I know, if they get a tattoo that they no longer want, they'll go get it covered up. So if this person is, you got to read their bodies now. People say read their language, their body language. Baby, you got to read those tattoos. Because it was apparent that they were from two totally different parts of the world. But she had him over at her place. And the neighbors said, well, yeah, we used to see him come over there. You know how some things are just a sore thumb, they just stick out? Just stick out. Honey, when you meet someone, maybe you have differences of opinion, but you need to figure out what those differences really are. Culturally or spiritually, do you all believe the same thing? This will give you an idea of who you're dealing with. Conversation. You know that movie, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? And then you get surprised because you're like, oh my God, I wouldn't have expected this person to be with you. And in some movies it's black and white, but this isn't about black and white. This is about character. This is about dangerous people who are out there who will kill you. Sometimes we want to help a brother out. And I remember seeing this young guy sitting on the curb. His name was Gregory Hudson, many, many years ago. And he looked sad. So I go over there, I'm just trying to be helpful. And I ask him how he's doing. He's like, I'm not doing too good, blah, blah, blah. And then the encourager in me was like, oh, come on, you can do better. Let's get you in college. And he was like, okay. So I was a director of career services at Donnelly College at the time, and I was also an alum at Donnelly. So I kind of knew, the ins and outs. And so I took him in, and I was introducing him to people and getting him settled. And next, he had his books, and he was going to class. And I'm like, great. Well, he wasn't good in math. So I started to tutor him because I wanted to see him win. I was down for the underdog. Well, one day we're in the study room, and he knew I was a Christian, and he knew I went to church. It was in my conversation, and he saw my Bible. And so one day he said, Dolores, does God forgive you for murder? And I said, well, Gregory, God forgives you for everything. He said, would you show it to me in the Bible? So I'm going through the Bible, and I can't find the words, God forgives you for murder. Because oftentimes we'll say, God forgives you for everything. Yeah, you confessed your faults. Yeah. But he wanted to see those words on paper. I couldn't find it, so we kept with our studies. And then we would talk because he had questions. Now, Gregory did not have my address. It wasn't that type of party. Well, one day I'm at home, Gregory calls, and I would pray for him and pray with him. And he's like, can we pray? And so I start praying for him, and I'm like, Father God, in the name of Jesus, I ask that you help Gregory, that you restore him and build him up, trying to encourage him. And all of a sudden I hear him saying, stroke my heart, Jesus. Yes, stroke my heart. Now I thought that was strange because it sounded like he was, well, y'all know, getting off on my voice, which I later learned that's exactly what he was doing. So one day he calls, and I said, okay, so can we pray again? I said, sure, we can pray again. So I pray again, and then all of a sudden he says, what you got on? I'm like, what do you mean, what do you got on? He says, so you at home? Babies, I turned the lights out, dropped to the ground, and crawled my way to the bathroom to call the police. But he kept calling back. And so now I'm saying, I rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Jesus. You know, I'm just pleading the blood of Jesus over this phone call. And he's just like, yes, stroke my heart, Jesus. So when I called the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department to tell them what was going on, I gave them his name. And there was this cop. His name was Cadillac Willie, for those of you in Wyandotte County. And I'm telling Cadillac Willie what happened. And he says, baby, give me his name. So I give him his name, Gregory Hudson. He says, sweetheart, you can't save the devil. What? The guy's criminal history was so extensive. But I didn't know that. All I knew is I wanted to help this young man. We were different, and I wanted to help him. He was in the neighborhood. Well, what I wasn't banking on is that the school was going to call me and say, that young man can't come back to the school. And I'm like, okay. And I called them to tell them if something happens to me, this is the person who, you know, found out where I live. And they said he was sitting in the speech class, and he took out his penis and he started masturbating in class in front of the teacher and the students. You talk about twisted. I said, what? Here's the thing. I had taken this guy to church with me. He went to GPT with me because I thought everybody want to be saved. We're different. I want to help him. He told me about the stories of his mom and them talking crazy to him. I said, oh, that's so sad. But here was the saddest part. Was years ago, maybe a few years, maybe a year after I had spoken to him, I remember taking and putting his name in the Bible. You know, I was like, because now I'm afraid. The news comes on, and it said that a BPU worker had been murdered. The person's face that they showed who had murdered this BPU worker was Gregory Hudson, the guy who kept asking me, does God forgive you for murder? I thank God that I'm still here. And as a result of me taking him to church with me, when he went away to the penitentiary, he was writing letters to me and sending them to the church. I need you to pay attention to this. Differences do attract, but they may turn dangerous or deadly. We can't just, you know, he's from a different side of the tracks than I am. Okay, there's a reason for that. You're not Junior Jesus. You can't build a man like you build a bear. Ladies, I'm down with the brothers. I'm trying to help a brother out. Girl, you better help yourself first. Good afternoon to all of you all. Dolores Jones, your comeback coach, is with you right now talking about some serious situations. I want to help you bounce back better than ever before. But I need you to recognize what part or what role you play in some of these situations. For those of you that are new to the team here, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button right here. I put the link in there for you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dolores Jones TV. And for those of you like, girl, we are down for the cause. You know what to do. Click that link for my Cash App, which is $, my comeback coach. And if you want the PayPal piece, is there too. What I am talking about is the fact that differences do attract, but they can become very dangerous and deadly, as was the case with a young woman out of Houston. Oh, Robert, you grew up with him, my Lord. A young woman, Briana Johnson, out of Houston, Texas. 28 years old, got all of her life going. I mean, she's doing the thing. She's known, she's popular, she's on YouTube, she has a following, she's giving people advice, she's chronicling her life on video. And so she ends up putting this guy on the video, and his name is Victor Campbell Jr. So Victor's out with her, you know, she's, you know, you can tell she's into him, but they're out shopping and she's filming him shopping, and I'm wondering why. But anyway, I noticed the tattoos on his arms. November 28th, this guy was at her apartment. That morning, apparently he threw a sheet over the camera. You know, the cameras outside, threw a sheet over the cameras, thinking that nobody was going to see the fact that he was pulling her out and what is it? Pulling her lifeless body out and putting her in the trunk of his car. But there was another video camera that captured him. Yes. Opposites. Opposites may attract, but baby, some of those situations will kill you. Listen, someone said it like this. They said, you can't help who is attracted to you, but you can decide who you will entertain. Sometimes saying hi is the worst thing ever. Now, I need y'all to pay attention to what I'm saying. Sometimes we don't want to hear it because it can be so gruesome, but somebody needs to hear this. So what I'm going to share with you in this particular video, I'm going to share with you some warning signs that I almost ignored. I'm also going to share with you a very personal story that just recently happened to our family. On Tuesday, I got a call in the morning that my 37-year-old cousin was murdered. They found her body in her apartment. She had been dating a guy who was known for beating other women. He pulled guns on her family. He went away to prison and came back out. She took him back. And now she's dead. See, I know we mean well as women, but we have to let men be responsible for their own choices and their own behaviors. And you don't owe them an explanation as to why you don't want to be in a relationship with them. You do deserve better. But sometimes or somewhere we're led to believe that we can't take care of ourselves. Or back in the day, you know, your status was based upon who your husband was. That's not the case anymore. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. God has equipped you to do any and everything that is necessary. He has proved you. He has qualified you. It is in you. And so whatever you learned back in the day, you need to revisit those things, because if your beliefs are not helping you, you need to let them go. This whole situation with women, violence towards women and women dying. Listen, y'all, I think it's like every 14 seconds or something. And then 1 in 3 women are in an abusive relationship. So if you count your friends and you go 1, 2, 3, one of y'all, you're in an abusive relationship. Now, listen, it may not look as obvious. I was married one time, going to church and everything. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. He was popular. He was well known. But people didn't know we were at home one day, and he snapped the heck out and grabbed me by my neck and lifted me over the sink. And I grabbed the knife and said, "Ninja, I will kill you." And you know what? I went on to work at the radio station, and he and I never, ever talked about it again. But I knew I got to get out of here, because I got to be one of the ones to get away. And eventually I did. But during one of our, exchanges for visitation with our son, I was trying to soothe our son because he was crying. He wanted to go with me, but the court paper said he couldn't. And so, ladies, you just want to reach and help your baby. So I reached and stepped around his father to grab him, but I couldn't reach him because his father at this time grabbed me by my neck and started swinging me like a rag doll. And the only way I broke my fall was I was able to plant my legs some kind of way, because he was throwing me out by my neck, and then went to church the next Sunday. Now, of course, I pressed charges, but they gave him a slap on the hand, anger management classes, and like $100 and something fine. People wouldn't know that in church. They don't know that. We don't. We about to pray about it. Baby, you better be about it. I heard Pastor R.C. Blake said, you know what? Stop trying to use spiritual things for practical situations. You can't pray a violent demon off of somebody. You can't do that. I can pray for you from a distance, but I'm not getting ready to let you keep coming back into my space and saying, okay, I'm going to fast with you. No, I'm going to be fast to let you go. Well, dang, ain't you a Christian? Don't play with me like that. I ain't no fool. I'm a whole lot of things, but I'm not a dummy. Differences do attract, but they can turn deadly. You better wake up. Now, if you're at a point and you know you're in a relationship with somebody and you're keeping it a secret, why are you keeping it a secret? You know, you don't need to keep a relationship a secret. You have to ask yourself, why am I keeping this relationship a secret? And chances are is because you know you shouldn't be with the person in the first place. We lost a very dear friend, classmate of ours, class of 89 at Schlegel, Daisha Hatchett. Let me tell y'all something. Daisha was one of the most popular girls in the school. She was absolutely stunning. She was beautiful. And one day I'm looking on the front page of the Kansas City Star, and there was Daisha's picture. Daisha had been shot in the head by a guy that apparently she had been dating. But here was the thing. Nobody knew who he was. He's completely out. Listen, he completely out of her league. But they said they were out, they were out drinking and dancing at the club. And someone said she attacked him. And so he said he left and he went to his house and she kept calling him. And then finally she showed up at his house. He said he left the door open and she came on in. And then he said, she attacked me again. And then I shot her. Just like that. And he pled not guilty because he said it was self-defense. I know, Bobby, we all love Deja. He said it was self-defense. But when they did all of the investigation, he was standing away from her when he pulled that trigger and shot her and killed her. And all we could do, is sit and go, did you hear what happened? Well, who was he? I don't know. I know. And, we cried. We had to go to the service. She had younger kids. She had one sister. Everybody was like numb. Stop keeping your relationships secrets. We don't need to do that. And if somebody says something to you that's crazy, you need to pay attention. Now, here's one of the reasons why soul ties can be very dangerous. And I can't tell you what to do, but I can share something with you. And if you can identify with it or you can relate to it, then it would be in your best interest to heed the warning. I was dating this guy. Oh my goodness, honey. Brown sugar, good looking, called me beautiful Dolores every time he saw me. He said, you're just so beautiful, Dolores. You're my beautiful Dolores. Listen, he was pampering me so well. Pedicures, anything. And I said to myself, that's it. I don't want to look at anybody else. I'm going to marry this one. Now, we never talked about marriage, but in my mind, I thought, we keep going like this. This is good. He was younger than I was. Something different. Ladies, y'all know we want something different sometimes. Younger than I was, honey. Thank you, Patricia. And he was amazing when it came to lovemaking. Yes, I love Jesus, but y'all know. Ain't no need of lying. Don't lie. Just own your stuff. And I really did, from a Christian perspective, I didn't need to, I shouldn't have been with him in the bed at least. But he was going to church with me too. So I figured, okay, one day he's just go, sometimes you're trying to pull somebody up, but chances are they're going to pull you down. And it wasn't that I didn't like him. It was after a wonderful night of ecstasy. We were in the kitchen. I was sitting in this big Papa San chair in his kitchen, and he was getting ready to make breakfast. He was an awesome cook. Now, all these things I'm saying really don't matter. I mean, yeah, we want a man that can cook, but I want you to hear what happened next. So I'm sitting there admiring him, and just by this time I had been spending the night, and I love being at his place more than I love being at mine. It was just, I was just like, ooh, this is great. Well, that morning, I'm looking at him with brown shoulders, just, my Lord. And he turns around and he looks over at me and he says, Dolores, if you ever hurt me, I will find you and I will f you up. And then he repeated it. He repeated it. I was like, where did that come from? Well, I've been hurt. Well, I don't need to pay for the sins of somebody else that hurt you. So now I'm like, oh my goodness, I done got this soul tie with this dude. This is crazy. And I wanted to act like I didn't hear it. Y'all know, like maybe he meant what he said and he said what he meant. That was my cue to exit stage left. Just go, keep on going. But y'all know how it is, ladies. We're just like, well, maybe he wouldn't do that to me. And so we stay around and we stick around, and then you find out, yes, he will. As in the case with my cousin, we're making her funeral arrangements right now as we speak. Tuesday, I got the call. She's dead. They found her in her apartment. What? 37 years old. 2 kids. Gone. Just gone. I said, well, tell me more about this dude. Well, he tried to hurt her before. We went over, and then he pulled an AK out on the family. They called the police. He already had a history of violence. They picked him up. They took him to jail. I think he was gone for a few months. But she was putting money on his books. And then he was on house arrest. And she gave them her address. Why? She thought maybe, if I'm nice to him, he's going to be nicer to me. Maybe if I really show him that I got his back, he won't hurt me. Surely he won't hurt me. He killed her. So now our family, we're putting her arrangements together. We're putting her obituary together. Who's going to sing? Dee Dee going to sing? Brandy going to sing? And I'm sitting with her mother almost every day. She is devastated. And they said when the police showed up, he was sitting on the step talking about, my girlfriend is dead. Really? Ladies, listen. In a perfect world, we could have the man of our dreams. But because we don't live in a perfect world, we have to pay attention. And we have to cut our losses. Because when loving you is killing me, I got to go. And sometimes we don't learn our lessons, do we? Nope. I got back in another abusive marriage. Because sometimes there's a pattern of behavior. So after this particular one, and I end up in the hospital getting stitches to my lip and in the dentist chair where they're taking their thumb to push my front tooth back in front of in my head. And your teeth are the strongest bones in your body. So the impact of this guy's fist with his ring slit my lip, pushed my tooth in the back, and some way severed my gum. I got pictures. Severed it, like cut it, like with a razor. Thankfully, Dr. Canyon, who's the dentist, knew what to do. So he like lays it down and he puts some stuff on it like that looks like bubble gum, and it seals my gum back together. I had to sleep in a mouthpiece. I had to sleep. And then they had to go in and, do a root canal and, file down my tooth and then put a cap on it. I'm at church, I'm singing praise and worship, and I went to church the next day. Like it happened on the weekend, and I go to church and I'm just in the choir and I'm leading praise and worship, and I didn't really know that somebody could see the damage. And I was standing there, and a friend named Leon, he's like, Dolores, why is your left tooth turning brown? It had been damaged. I was like, oh my God. The secret is out. But I had to make some decisions. And I realized some of my behaviors stem from molestation when I was younger and a desire to protect the babysitter because people mistreated him. You see? That's why we got to have conversations. It's not enough just to say, I love you. It's not enough just to see something and ignore how you feel. You need to sit down with that thing. So it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I even acknowledged that happened to me. And by the time I was in my 30s, I was married a second time and headed for a divorce. But that time I got out faster. See, the first time it took me 7 years. That time I was like, I'm out. I got my house. But he kept calling and there were presents. And I felt like maybe it was my fault because, we were fighting, but we were supposed to be going to therapy that same day. Oh, he would go to therapy, honey. But there was games in that too. And I wanted to ignore it because at this stage of my life, I had a master's of social work. So I knew the power and control wheel. I knew the behavior. But y'all want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You give them the benefit of the doubt, you could be dead. So when it came time for court, the day before, somebody say the day before, I called him because now I'm feeling bad. And we're talking. And I was like, I hate this happened. He's like, I know this. I hate it happened too, Dolores. And I went over to the house. We were still married. So I went over to the house he was at. And I laid in bed with her. We didn't have sex. The next day it was the court. Go in front of the judge. Because I didn't know how this thing worked. Because I'm thinking she's going to say, okay, don't put your hands on your wife again. And then I could say, okay, well, now they're going to come after you. So as I'm talking and showing her the pictures and the report from KU, he says, Your Honor, she was with me last night. She looks at me, she says, is this true? I said, well, yeah, but she says, no, you're not afraid of him. And she threw it out. And the advocate, she said, it's a part of the game. It's a part of the game. It's a game. There are some similarities to men who hurt women. And whenever you are involved with somebody who's been to the penitentiary, my second husband had been in the penitentiary for 10 years. Now, we know we can't judge people by their past. However, when you're interacting with a person, you need to pay attention to some of the things that they say. You need to look at how they make you feel. And it's not enough just to be a strong woman. Like, you can't talk to me like that because I'll go with you, No, You got to be a wise woman. You got to wake up and get out. But I was like, okay, if he talks to me like that, I'm going to talk crazy to him. We got to fight. I'm going to fight him back. And then I realized, Dolores, you need to be with a man you ain't got to fight at all. Love doesn't hurt. But somewhere down the line, we bought that. We bought that. Love, you're going to have some problems. You know, everybody fight. No, everybody ain't fighting. Everybody ain't fighting. Well, you know, girl, everybody go through some stuff. You know, everybody go through some stuff. You need to fight for your marriage. And after it happened, we went out with a few couples, right? They were married. And I guess it was supposed to be an intervention because by that time I had left. And the intervention was, you talk to Dolores. And so it was like a setup. So we're all sitting at the table and they start in. And I'm looking at him like, okay. And I became very agitated, and they had him walk away with the men, and the wives were sitting there and they was like, oh, Dolores, let me tell you what my husband did. I spent too much money. And he said to me, and these are what she said. He said to me, if you spend money like that again, I'm going to whoop your ass. And I'm looking like, what part of this is supposed to help me? In other words, she was saying, girl, just deal with it. And then the other one, she started saying whatever she was going to say, and I tuned her out. And this is what I said to him. I said, hey, well, why don't you let him be married to your daughters? Let your daughter date him. I said it to the men too. Let your daughter date him. But Dolores, he loves you. No, let your daughter date him. If he's not good enough for your daughter, he definitely ain't good enough for me. Dolores Jones is my name. I'm your comeback coach. I'm here to simply help you bounce back better than ever before. Through your life experiences, through dumb decisions. It's time to stand up and do what you need to do. And yes, the sex can be amazing. And yes, he could have spent $5,000 on you. Yeah, one of them, my husband, he had it wrote on paper. He said, I spent $5,000 on you. I was like, ninja, whatever. But during the day, we were both telling everybody, he's crazy. Oh, Dolores is crazy. No, he's crazy. And then at night, what you doing? Your sneaking ain't helping you, honey. And one day I was sneaking, went right over there and got under him. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to put it on him and then I'm going to go home. You know, I'm going to show him. I'm going to show him what he's missing. Who was the fool? I was the fool. I'm driving home and I can just hear the spirit. He says, Dolores, yes? Do you mean to tell me that you are so desperate for love that you will crawl back under a man who disfigured you? I was like, oh my God, that is what's happening. He had to work to even kiss you 4 months. It took him 4 months. So you mean to tell me he disfigured you? You done went through hell and back, and now you thinking about the good times, and so you just go lay back up under him. Somebody better wake up. They say common sense is common, but it's not common practice. So I said, Lord, you got to help me, because when I get to feeling lonely or I get to feeling this way, I want to go back to what's familiar, because we don't want to focus on what didn't work. We're still focusing on what did work. Well, we did go on a nice vacation. That's called the honeymoon period. It gets better and then it gets progressively worse. Well, I don't want to, you don't want what? Here's the question. Do you want to live? And I'm going to tell y'all this. Now, y'all ain't got to take my advice, but I have this thing called I like to play grit ball. Tyler Perry talked about it in one of his movies where he said, boil some hot grits. And if you touch you douse them with the grits and you hit them upside the head with a skillet. Now, I'm not saying you got to stay that long, but what I am going to say, this is what I'm going to say. I'm not advocating violence, but I'm saying if a man put his hands on you, baby, you better put the fear of God in him. Mm-hmm. See, they think you're weak. So if a person thinks you weak, then they're going to prey on you. And then sometimes we tell them too much of our business too soon, and now they're throwing it back in our face, and we're thinking like, well, I can't go tell my mama this. I can't tell my uncle this because, and forget what everybody else said. You need to remember who you are. You are God's child. You are not a punching bag. You don't have everlasting or ever ready down your chest. If he want to hit something, send him over to the boxing club. But I'm going to tell you like this. If you're currently in a relationship, you better start cooking hot grits. Just cook them every day, morning, noon, and night. Oh, he'll wake up. But don't keep playing around. Eventually I'm going to do it. And then all of a sudden you respond and now you got to go to prison. See, that's why I had to get out of my first marriage. Because when he had me by my throat, I was like, I'm about to stab him. Then I thought about our son. And I said, well, I don't want to tell our son how his daddy got stabbed. And we both love Jesus. But right now, I'm about to cut a brother. And as I'm standing there, see, you got to have something more than just relationship in mind. You got to think about your destiny. So I'm standing there in the kitchen trying to get myself together because by this time he left. And I'm saying to myself, Dolores Jones, you do know you want to be like Oprah Winfrey, right? Yes. If you cut him, you go into the penitentiary and you will not be like Oprah Winfrey. So I had to get my plan together. I didn't start saying, I'm about to leave you. You ain't no good. You should. The person who hurt you is very aware that they hurt you. And they're very aware that you want to leave. You talk too much. You stop. Baby, listen. I was Social Security cards together. Thinking. And then I busted a move. And I took my baby with me. Then through court, all that. I ain't even going to revisit that. What we're talking about is how differences can attract, but they can become deadly. Such was the case in Houston on November 28th of 2020. Briana Johnson, a YouTuber, young woman, about 28 years old, had her life in front of her. She had already gotten her degree from a university. She was doing the doggone thing. And she got hooked up with somebody called Victor Campbell Jr. And Victor had a history of being violent towards family. And then Victor decided that he was going to strangle her, stuff her in the trunk of his car, and drive off. But he was speeding. So the highway patrol pulled him over. He went to stop. Then he sent them on a high-speed chase, crashed his car. They're searching the car, and there's Brianna. Her friend's like, who is this dude? We got to listen, you are not responsible for somebody else's failure to do what is necessary to have a better life. Okay. Some people say, well, I'm a black man trying to live in America. There's a lot of black men living in America and they ain't killing folk. Well, you just don't understand. Listen, I'm not your therapist and I definitely ain't your mama. Okay. But some of us want to be too nice. Well, okay. Well, just don't talk to me like that no more. Okay. Because if you do, I'm leaving this time and I ain't never come back. Nope. The second one, baby, let me tell y'all something. I told my supervisor, I said, listen, I'm going to be moving out. And so I'm going to take the day off. I had already went and got a key, put it in my glove compartment. I still had my house, but somebody was renting it out. Contacted the movers like a day or so before. Had it planned, got up in the morning like everything was the same. We both kiss each other. Mwah, love you. Have a good day. He drives off. I drive off. I go around the corner. I come back. The movers pull up and so does my family. And we just getting all this stuff out. I was still trying to be nice though, right? I was like, okay, he can keep the bed and then let him keep that particular furniture. Still being nice. By the time that brother got home, I was gone. He called me. He said, I didn't deserve this. I said, it ain't even about you. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes you have to have something that you value so much that you don't want harm to come to it in order to leave. For me, it was my son. See, I felt like I could take up for myself. But when he started hollering at my son, when he screamed at my son like a gorilla. Hello, beautiful friend of mine. Christina, I love you. Crying, just hollering at him. I'm like, what? I had to take my baby. I had to put him to sleep with classical music. I had to lay in the bed with him for a couple of hours because he was traumatized by this man hollering at him. So I go into the bedroom because I'm like, okay, he's still my husband. How do I need to talk to him? And I was just as calm because, sometimes you don't want to mess stuff up. And I said, I really appreciate the fact that you want to help me with my son, but we can't do it like that. Well, then you effing raise him. And he just goes off. So now my son is telling his daddy, something's wrong with mama. And when he did that to my baby, I said, my son did not ask to be put in this situation. So Dolores, if you don't leave for you, you're going to leave for your baby. I don't know what type of situation you're in. You cannot help who is attracted to you, but you can decide who you entertain. Stop entertaining the devil. Sometimes our parents, they move us out of neighborhoods because they know what's around the corner. And then some of us, we come out the neighborhood and then go back and pick up a rat. Yes, I've heard countless times. Your mama take you out of the hood. She move you somewhere where there's, not as much chaos going on, but you want to go back to the hood and pick up this, I was going to say gigolo. You want to pick up this clown with a crown on because he done got up in your head. However, next thing you know, you're pregnant by him. See, stop go. What was that quote that I put on there? Stop going back to what broke you. I see parents all the time and they cry. I did everything I could to move her out of that neighborhood. I moved them all the way to another state and she got in the car and went back over there, or she gave him my address. Yeah, your mama wants you to have fun, but she wants you to be alive. She just don't want me to be happy. She mad because my daddy left her. Baby, you are not that wise. You ain't that wise. And so what? You ain't got to agree with your mama, but you need to listen to somebody who's trying to tell you something. I think she's just, because she can't keep no man. No, but she's still here. She's alive, right? You don't know it all. It's impossible to know it all. The way we learn things is people share stories in hopes of helping you save yourself. Please put yourself first. If you don't have anything in common with this person, I don't care if he tells you you look like Beyonce. People will say anything to get what they want from you. You see, when we know that we're beautiful, like today, y'all been commenting on my hair wrap, girl. And I said, girl, you beautiful. That's what I said when I walked out today. And I looked in the mirror, I said, you got to spend time appreciating you. And I said, God, thank you for making me beautiful. So you need to hear it from within. If you're still searching for, you're so fine outside and you can't pull it together. Sometimes it's hard for people to look in the mirror. Let me fix my hat here. Okay. You got to learn to appreciate your own beauty. You need nobody beating you up in your head and up in your face, right? You got to figure it out for yourself. Let's conquer. Let's erase those tapes from the past that told you Don't nobody want you. You too big. You too skinny. You too dark. You too light. And unfortunately, sometimes that foolishness, that poison comes from within our homes. So don't get mad. Don't get mad if your child runs into the arms of a dangerous person if you were beating them down with your words inside your house. Listen, I'm going to let this go. I'm going to let this go because unfortunately, I could keep going on and on and on and on and on and on about these particular types of stories, but we have to get it. How do we learn to value ourselves so that we can protect ourselves? See, you got to stay in school, honey. You got to realize that you're capable of learning something. Somebody may tell you, oh, you don't need that piece of paper. It's more than the piece of paper. It's the information that you receive because you're in that class or you're in that training. And the more training and classes, you can begin to increase your skill set, which gives you more options. See, if you don't think that you can do it on your own, then you're more inclined to stay with someone who you think is helping you. But people don't do stuff for free, honey. They got something invested. And sometimes some people invest in you because they want to control you. Dolores Jones, the comeback coach here. Want to help you bounce back better than ever before. If you're listening to the sound of my voice, you're here. That means you have another opportunity to decide to make a better choice. Make it better this time. Make it better this time. And if you cry, honey, but at least you're still alive. Take some self-defense courses. Make some hot grits. Stay safe. Most importantly, stay out of those relationships. You have nothing in common with a person. You don't. And even if y'all came from the same part of the world, y'all made different decisions and choices. He's responsible for his life. You are not. You don't need to put money on anybody's books unless it's your books at school or your children's books. As Cadillac Willie told me, said, Dolores, he said, baby girl, you cannot save the devil. And I'm sticking with that answer. Do me a favor, go ahead and hit the notification button here or the subscription button for my YouTube channel. It's right there for you in the body of this particular video. So you don't even have to search it. Just hit it, right? And then subscribe to Dolores Jones TV on YouTube. Also, for those of you that are like, let's do this together and I got your support, there is a link to my Cash App, which is $ my comeback coach, as well as my PayPal account, Dolores Inspires Me at yahoo.com. I appreciate you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to be with me. Would you share the video? Would you share the video? Because sometimes people don't want to listen to you and they'll listen to somebody else, but you're saying the same thing, but for some reason they need to hear it some other way. Share the video. And if you have a story, share your story. I don't look like what I've been through because of God's mercy and grace. He's faithful. Nobody's perfect. We all fall down. We all make poor decisions. But you can get back up and you can do something different this time. You can do something different this time. And if you need to reach out to me, you can inbox me and I will call you, so we can get you some help. But stop listening to the devil. A person who loves you is not going to punch you in your mouth. A person who loves you is not going to pull your weave tracks out. A person who loves you isn't going to come to your job and start embarrassing you, talking all kind of crazy stuff so you lose your job. A person who loves you is not going to kick you in the back of your thigh when you're walking out to go to work. A person who loves you is not going to take their hands and grab you by your throat and swing you like a rag doll. They could say, I'm sorry until Jesus came back. It's not the point that you're sorry. It's the point that you did it. Yeah, you a sorry excuse for a blah, 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 blah. No. No. And no. Thank you, guys. I'll talk to y'all again soon. Love on yourself, honey. Love on yourself. Love on yourself. You are deserving of love. We'll talk about how you do that. How do you start to love yourself? Take care.